regardless of how much people harp on having the correct fluid level in your transmission, some people still don't seem to understand why it's so important. So this is the underside of an 80E. This is where the back of the pan ends up, and this is where the inlet for the filter is, in the front third of the transmission. So when you accelerate hard, all the fluid ends up in the back of the pan over here, and you can uncover this. You have to have the right amount of fluid in this. It is the most important, one of the most important things, if not the most important thing, because if you do not have this submerged in fluid, none of this is going to work, and you will burn up the transmission. Now I have a dipstick over here, I have a pan, and I have a case. This is the pan rail people are talking about to measure to. Okay, when you verify your dipstick, this pan rail right here, it is machined flat with the surface that the valve body bolts to. So when you stick your dipstick through the hole right here, when it's mounted in the vehicle, not out of the vehicle, you have to have everything mounted up, because it changes the length of where the dipstick hits in reference to this, and it's an important thing. You're gonna measure to this pan rail and add an 1/8 inch to 1/4 inch. Most 80E stock dipsticks, the highest hot fill line is at best at the pan rail, and it can even be below it. And if you go between min and max, it can be well below the pan rail. You want an 1/8 inch to 1/4 inch above it. You might have to mark the dipstick at the end of the tube, measure to the pan rail, take the dipstick out, measure from your mark to where the pan rail would be, and add an 1/8 inch to 1/4 inch. That's what this looks like. This first mark here, somebody already made, and that's at the pan rail. I made the second mark. The 2 marks, that's a 1/4 inch above the pan rail. This transmission in this truck here is built for about 1,000 horsepower, so it's critical. Now, how much does that really matter? I drew a line in here. This is just oil for demonstration purposes. There's a line at the bottom there that the oil is even with. Was even with, now it's even with. You can see a line there. That top line is a 1/4 inch above it. So if this transmission was a quarter inch low, let's see how much fluid that would take to cover up that line. We're pouring, we're pouring, we're pouring, still pouring, still pouring, and stop. That was an entire quart of fluid. 1/4 inch is a quart in a early pan like this, which is the squared off one. The late pan is the one with the angle. So if it would this, and mind you, that was a 1/4 inch off. If you filled it to the pan rail, it's 1 quart low. If it was another quart off because he was filling to min and max on a stock dipstick and it wasn't marked, it could be 2 quarts low. And if you had it lower than that, 3 quarts low, and the thing doesn't take that much fluid where you can be that low. If you're that low, what happens when you accelerate? The fluid ends up back here. And look at where I made that mark is about where the fluid fill hole is. You can easily uncover that thing. This is what's happening when you're accelerating in your vehicle. You got full fluid level, then it ends up back here, and you're trying to not uncover that. A quart or even a half quart, or definitely 2 quarts, makes all the difference in this. That's why it's so important.